You're listening to Live Wild Radio, the part-time adventure podcast.
Join us as we explore how outdoor adventures build mind, body, and spirit.
Before we get to the show today, we've got our first real partner sponsor, Great Lakes Girya. So Girya is the Russian word for kettlebell. They have kettlebells in stock, which I know is a big issue in a lot of places. Really high quality bells, the Russian hardstyle, that range from as little as 4 kilos up to 96 kilos. Really love the quality. Handles are great. The part that's great is we got you a 5% discount. So if you go to greatlakesgirya.com, if you're here in Canada or in the United States, it's us.greatlakesgirya.com. And use the promo code LiveWild at checkout. You'll get 5% off. And in addition to kettlebells, they have barbells. They have squat racks. They have dumbbells, maces, weighted clubs, chin-up bars, whole collection of gear. So don't forget, if you want to get in shape, don't count on the gyms. They keep having to close. So set your gym up at home now and save some money on it. So last episode, we talked about mountain biking, like how to get into it, why it's fun, all that kind of jazz. And this time around, we're going to talk about fitness for mountain biking because it's such a physical activity, physical sport, that if you're not in shape for it, your life will suck.
Well, not totally suck, but yeah, you'll feel it.
Okay, it will totally suck if you have any kind of hills.
Yeah, it's the hills.
Yeah.
For sure. You'll feel like a smoker.
Yeah.
But so Winston, let's let people share with people like your background a bit. So what's your relationship with fitness for mountain biking or cycling in general? Like what background do you have in that?
Well, I started coaching cyclists and triathletes 25 years ago. And I've had people go world championships, Canadian championships, provincial championships, all that kind of jazz. So, yeah. Basically.
Yeah. And I experienced when you had the bike shop at the back of your shop, you had, what was it? The Speed Factory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember the name?
I know. You're surprised.
That was one of the coolest marketing things I came up with, calling my like training center and coaching, company, the Speed Factory.
Yeah. You're proud of that.
It's, it sounded cool.
Yeah. It is cool.
So I really enjoyed that.
That was the first time that I experienced what I thought was really effective training. And because I loved the fact that, the time I put in was well spent. I saw massive performance. However, I was a newbie, so there's massive newbie games in the first month. But, in that benchmark study where you had me do a circuit, a set number of exercises or 3 of them, it took me 8 minutes. The first time I thought I was going to throw up. And a month later, I halved the time, and it was as a result of the training. Now, this time around, fast forward, because that was in, I don't know, before my kids were born, so 12 years ago, maybe, 15. Now, and that was in a professional sense, and now you're my boyfriend, so whatever. I get training for free.
Yep.
I don't have to pay this time. But
you got to put up with me all the time. So
That's true.
That's your penance.
Put out. Anyways, so regardless, this time around it's been a bit different. It's been overall general conditioning a lot with because this is COVID, working out at home. We use kettlebells because of limited space and body resistance and resistance bands and rings and TRXs, or ab rollers. So those are essentially what we used. And it was pretty effective. But we want to share with you guys today, because when I got back out on the trails this year, and this has been almost a year for me now, getting into mountain biking, it was pretty phenomenal. Like we were, from just doing an hour ride, being able to handle the bike easily, not being really tired, worn out or anything, to, going for a 25K ride. Off-road. Mountain biking and doing it again the next day. Yeah. So that was pretty amazing because the first, last year and going faster and further. So, anyways, rewind back. That's my background. And, so where do you think it all starts?
Well, so first thing with anybody, is there's sort of rules of training. and I'm going to bastardize them a little bit, make them easy to understand instead of super scientific. But there's the law of specificity, right? You get good at what you do. So the first easy way to get better at mountain biking, right? Better fitness for it is just to ride, right? And just gradually increase either the intensity of your rides, which is how hard you're riding, or how long you're riding, or the frequency, right? The variables are very similar that we would manipulate for aerobic activity or cardio or, whatever you want to call it, endurance activities, as you would for strength training, right? How many times a week do you train? How long do you train? How much volume are you doing? And how hard do you train? The intensity, right? And there's a few other little things you can play with there. But by manipulating those, and gradually, slow but steady, increasing them, that alone will just get you in better shape for riding. Because you found that, right? The more you ride.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. I mean, the first time I rode this year, I did notice that when I was out of the saddle in the aggressive attack position, I was like, oh, I'm not used to this, because I could feel it in particular in my quads. Mm-hmm. But the second time around, and that was when I rode with you also, I have the time trying to catch up with you. Mm-hmm. You only had to wait like maybe a minute instead of 2. And I didn't feel that anymore. So it was just, and I rode a couple times in the week in a light jaunt, like nothing massive. It's usually when I ride with you, because we have more time, we're going to make a go of it.
Yeah.
So that tends to be almost 2 hours, and I'm redlining as far as my heart rate goes.
Yeah, because
it's fun.
Well, that's one of the other things. If you want to get faster, and I'm not taking my own advice because I only ride with you, but you one of the easiest ways to get faster is ride with people faster than you, right? Because it's a basic human psychological thing. You don't want to get left behind. So if somebody's faster than you, you just naturally will tend to push a little harder than if you were the fastest one, right? Because, and I run into that quite often, like when we're riding, I'll dial it back a bit just so I don't have to. I'd rather keep moving, but at a slightly slower pace than have to stop and wait longer, right? So, and I wouldn't recommend this to anybody all the time. Like if you do every ride with people faster than you, you're just going to burn out very quickly, right? And that's where we kind of do, some easy, they're still on trails, but they're like flat gravel trails for aerobic training, that are pretty easy. We have set heart rate zones we try to stay into with those.
Yeah, between 130 and 140 for me.
Yeah, and it's variable per person. Like mine's lower. Catherine's got a higher maximum heart rate than I do. So, but the whole thing is just purely steady aerobic riding, right? And then our mountain
Which is what percentage of your heart rate, typically? Just so that people can figure it out on
So one of the easiest ways is do like the MAF tone, because nobody knows what their maximum heart rate is anyway, right? So the MAF tone method is take 180 minus your age.
That was 220.
No, that's not the MAF tone method.
Okay, go on.
Because the 220 minus your age was invented by a cardiac specialist, I think in Florida, actually. And the whole idea was not for the general population or fit people, but it was for obese people with heart problems.
Okay.
Right? So when he was he never meant it to become this like universal, that everybody goes, oh, well, it's 220 minus your age is your max heart rate.
Okay. Got it.
Right? Because if you take 220 minus your age, you ride... Like you can keep your heart rate above 220 minus your age.
Yeah, because it's 174.
Yeah, you hit like almost
I've hit 200 before.
Yeah, right. So you see how that idea is so far off.
Yeah.
Right.
So what? Sorry, go ahead. So it's 180.
So 180 minus your age. If you are in pretty good shape or quite good shape, then because that would be your ceiling limit, and then 10 beats below that is your who's it? That's your bottom limit. So that's the window you want to try to stay within.
That you were just talking about for your light riding?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it's 134 is the ceiling. So then 122. So I'm still higher than.
Well, but because you have a way higher.
So you would go higher. Got
Like
it.
I adjusted yours based on what I know about you.
Yeah.
When I'm giving general information.
Right. They're not me.
But yeah, I don't have their data. So it's better to err on slightly easier.
Right.
Because what will happen if you do these rides, when you first go out, depending on what kind of fitness you're in, they'll actually seem stupidly easy. Right? Just these steady rides building an aerobic base.
Yeah.
And they can feel kind of boring.
Yeah.
You know, but what happens is, even though your heart rate's not going up, right, you still keep it in that same zone for your aerobic training. Over a period of weeks and months, for that same heart rate, you're going faster. Right?
It's true.
So it becomes one of those things where then if you combine that with once or twice a week of hard, right, which is just go for a mountain bike ride. If you live in an area that has any kind of hills, right, like your mountain bike trails, single track trails, have any ups and downs, especially if any of the ups are technical, right, roots, rocks, you know, steep, where you really got to give it 100% to get up. That inherently becomes interval training, which is going hard and then going easy to recover and going hard again rather than going steady. It's hard to go steady on a mountain bike ride, right? Because you're giving it everything you have to get up the hill, and going down the hill, you're not pedaling, right? You're just trying not to crash into trees. So it inherently becomes a variable type of workout, or an interval type workout, because you're not doing one steady output all the way through. And so for most people, right, like, and this is sort of for the general population, you just like mountain biking. How I would structure something for somebody who's getting into racing is different, right? Because now if you're racing, well, that's kind of your life, right? Unless you're just sort of the weekend warrior racer, where it's like you'll do a couple races a year, or you might do a relay or with your friends or something.
Right.
You know, because basically it's a thing where are you doing it because it's fun, or are you doing it because you want to win?
Yeah, I think the general population that does it leisurely is really just trying to not feel like they're going to croak when they come up a hill, and that they can keep going and ride longer. I mean, that certainly was the case for me last year. When we were riding, mind you, I had broken my arm, so I was kind of out for 2 months. So I probably felt it overall, not doing much activity. But overall, I was still strong. I had muscle, and it's, you know, I didn't have any cardio. So I felt it for sure.
But you notice it came back very quickly?
Yeah, it did. It came, well, it was hard I never really tested it in the winter.
No. But you broke your arm in the summer.
Right.
Right. July, we got you a mountain bike.
Right.
Right. So
I really started in August. Yeah.
Yeah. And the first couple rides were hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, by September, right. So really we're talking a month. You noticed a massive difference.
Sure. No, it does improve. I mean, even the month of, but you have to ride consistently. Yeah. But even when I trained in your speed factory for the first month, like, was just, you know, leaps and bounds. So yeah, you do gain, as you've said earlier, you gain cardio fitness very quickly as opposed to, like, say, strength fitness. If you were strength training at the gym, it takes time to build that, and it takes time to lose it as well.
Yeah, whereas cardio goes quickly.
You'll lose it quickly. Like, if you don't do anything in 2 weeks, you'll notice a massive difference.
Yeah, you'll get it back quickly, but you lose it quickly.
Yeah. So I think. So what is your other philosophy around fitness for mountain biking? You were talking about specificity. Yeah.
So that's, you know, basically you just get good at what you do. Right? If you do something regularly, even without trying, even without being structured, you're going to get better at it.
Actually, let me just speak to that real quick, because outside of just the fitness component, it's the technical component to it as well. Right. And I noticed that massively, like when I was just practice, you know, the more you mountain bike, the more you start to get more comfortable, technically speaking, around logs or roots or rocks, whatever it is, wherever before you're like, you know, white knuckling it, you can now relax. You can release the tension in your grip, your arms. You can let the bike flow, you know, and let it do its thing. And rather than constantly, you know, riding on the brakes, right? As you're going downhill because you're scared, you can actually go with it and it saves you. So it's not necessarily like a fitness thing, but
it lets you use your fitness better.
Because you're more relaxed because of technical ability or because of you're less stressed and fearful. Your body is now more relaxed to perform the way it should. So we're talking about performance enhancers. So in other words, the more you practice, the more you'll get better at that. And that'll make a big difference.
Yeah, because, it's a great point, because the less tension you have with your body, the less energy it takes.
Yeah.
Right? The more relaxed you are, the better you'll breathe. Right? So you won't actually, in a technical sense, be in any better shape, but riding will be less fatiguing. So it will seem like you're in better shape. Right? So if you're getting in better shape, at the same time you're increasing your technical skill and therefore are being more efficient, right? You get through a section with less effort. It's less fatiguing, right? So then it seems like a double whammy. Like it just feels like your fitness went through the roof because you did a section of trail faster. You're less tired afterwards. You can keep going because it took less out of you. And they kind of go hand in hand. Now, I've always broken the fitness component, or like not fitness, but performance on a bicycle down to 3 components.
Okay.
And we've actually kind of talked about 2 of them already. So I refer to it as a triangle, right? And if any part of the triangle is weak, it's going to fall down.
Okay.
So one is your cardiovascular fitness, right? How efficient your heart and lungs are, how good your body is at carrying oxygen in your blood, all of these things, right? The capillarization of the muscles, the more capillaries you have carrying blood to the muscles, the more oxygen can get to them. Then, mitochondria in the cells, more energy can be turned over, all that kind of jazz. Then there's what I refer to as, the computer. It's the efficiency. It's the neurological part, right? That will be how efficient you pedal. Like if it's road riding, there isn't a ton of skill, to road riding the same way that there is to mountain biking.
Yeah.
But there is like a neurological efficiency part to your pedaling.
Okay.
Right? The smoother you pedal, the less energy it takes.
Yeah, certainly if you don't have clipped-in pedal, shoes, then all you can do is stroke down.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas you miss out on the ability to do a back stroke
and
up with your hamstrings, right? Because it's just quad, pretty much. And I think that's part of what you're talking, and especially when you're going uphill, you were talking about you attack it or you go faster.
Yeah, and you can spin faster.
Yeah.
Without your feet coming off the pedals. But the more neurologically efficient, the more skilled you are, right? And these are all controlled by your brain.
Coordination, essentially. Yeah.
So the better they are, the more efficient you are, the better you'll perform. And then finally, there's the chassis, right? And that's basically a case of how strong you are. I've seen people give out, mountain biking, not because of their cardio, but because their arms were so pumped. Or they couldn't hold on to the bars anymore. Like their forearms were pumped from using the brakes on super big descents or technical kind of stuff. Lower back's giving out.
Yep.
Right.
Quads because you're out of the saddle.
Yeah. Or just reaching that point where the whole system isn't working as well together. The transmission of power from your legs to, the pulling on the handlebars, not transferring to the legs because your core is giving out. Right. So, developing a strong chassis, right? Your whole foundation, having enough strength, mobility, and muscular endurance to keep going, right? And if you think about it, when we started riding this year, right, you had a bike trainer, but you never really used it much.
No.
But when we first started riding this year, it wasn't like you were like, oh my God, I'm so out of shape.
That's right.
Right? Because all winter long, we did a lot of kettlebell circuits, a lot of squatting.
I also just came out of the 10,000 kettlebell swing challenge in 1 month.
Yeah.
And that really boosts up your cardio.
So the cardiovascular system, it wasn't cycling specific, but the overall system was quite good. And then all of the whole chassis was really good.
Yeah.
Right. Now, obviously, if we'd also done a bunch of like trainer rides over the winter, or Peloton, or whatever it happens to be, then you'd be a little further ahead.
Right.
But it wasn't, because our program is GPP, or general physical preparedness. It means then anything you go to do, you're not going to be the best at it because we're not specialized.
But you're ready to do it.
Yeah. You do things at a competent level. And so then you combine that with, we've been riding outside for, we'll call it a month. Like, we got out for a few rides in April, but then May was just a bag of dicks, right? Weather-wise. It was always cold and raining.
Yeah.
So we didn't get out a ton in May.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where, I don't know, have we had so far this year maybe a dozen rides?
No.
Right?
Yet.
When we went down to Turkey Point.
I mean, I'm talking about hard rides.
Like real rides.
Yeah.
Like I ride my bike every day, but, it's not, riding over
maybe
here.
Maybe four to 6 times.
Yeah. Like a big ones.
Yeah.
But the combination of what we do during the week, or what we do regularly as far as our conditioning circuits and strength circuits, because they have an element of strengthening. And if people want an idea of what we do, listen to our episode on kettlebell training, because we talk a lot about how we structure programs and how all those pieces work together. But that combination with then our, probably 2 or 3 time a week rides, when we go down to Turkey Point, and, put in a 3-hour ride, neither of us were fried. You were getting tired towards the end, but it was energy food wise.
I was tired because of the day before, maybe.
Yeah, we also
did combination of that plus, because that was our first big rides, and at that point, my body was just energy wise, tired. To be out of the saddle. Yeah, because I think that day was 3 hours. Yeah. Yeah,
because we'd done 2.5 hours the day before.
Yeah. Yeah, with my heart rate, by the way, being at like average 160 something. Yeah. For 3 or 2.5 hours.
Well, it was 152 that day. Average.
Was it?
Yeah, but your high was 186.
Yeah.
So
it's a long time.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where the fact that you are fit enough that you can ride at that intensity that long. Yeah. Right? Because most people can't, if you're not in shape, it's almost like your body's got like a shut-off valve, like an overflow valve. Like it won't let you push that hard.
Yeah, you just feel like you're dragging your ass. And I think that's the key word or key phrase of what it feels like when you are in shape, is that you're not dragging your ass. You just feel so put together and a part of the bike, and you can just go.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too that's I would like to get across to people is that there's definitely times that you need to go hard, but most of your workouts should be, was that it? Right? Like it shouldn't be killing you.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, I like referring to, the idea of a workout as you're actually doing work, right? And let's say if you had a job, you're digging ditches or, a bricklayer, you don't kill yourself because you got to do it again tomorrow, right? We know that consistency over time, just, like I think one of the biggest things I think would be great for people, and I think this is something that's coming out of, because more people are getting in the habit of working out at home, it's much easier to do like a quick 20-minute workout at home almost on a daily basis,
Yeah.
than it is to do an hour
3 days a week.
where you have to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Right? Because we know if it's an hour at the gym, it's way more
Prep time.
right? Because it's getting there, getting home, swiping your card, changing.
Yeah, it's more of a production.
Yeah. Whereas, we have a gym literally on the other side of the couch that we're sitting on.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's such an easy thing to have consistency because you're not running into the thing of having to, oh, okay, well, I've got this big one today. No, you just go in, you got something programmed. Mm-hmm. And we've said this before, but like when it comes to any kind of strength training, we're a big fan of EMOM or every minute on the minute.
Oh, yeah.
You just set a timer. Like our workout yesterday, we had a timer set it was a long workout for us. 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And what it was 10 minutes of 4 exercises.
Yeah.
So when the countdown beeps for the first minute, you do your reps for that exercise, right? So maybe it's 5 reps. And whatever's left in the minute, you get to rest. Mm-hmm. And then it beeps again. And then so in 10 minutes, you do 10 sets.
It was a hard workout.
Yeah.
I felt it.
Yeah.
Because generally our workouts are about 30 minutes.
Yeah, like 30, 35.
Yeah. So even though we say 40, that's long. It's almost like when we were back at the gym powerlifting, it's like, yeah, anything over 5 reps is cardio.
Yeah.
Oh,
but the fact is, because you're keeping it going, right? Like there feels like when you do these types of workouts,
you're huffing.
You're not killing yourself.
My heart rate was on average 150.
Yeah. Well, that was for the finish of it.
Hang on. I'm going to see. Yeah.
Because I don't think it was that high for body rows and Turkish get-ups.
Yeah, probably not. I'm going to see what it was. But anyways, go on.
So the whole idea is little doses of the correct
142 average heart rate yesterday.
Done consistently, right? Think of it as like a giant tree. And like a giant sequoia. One of those trees that's like 6 or 8 feet diameter. I give you an axe, and it seems like an insurmountable task to chop it down, right? But if you go take a few swings, and then come back again tomorrow, take a few swings, right? You're not trying to do it all in one day. And I find that just that steady, consistent approach.
Surprisingly, it gets you far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people need to get out of this, like, no pain, no gain.
I agree.
Leave sweat angels on the floor.
It's what we're, conditioned to think is the case. When you go to the gym and you're, often trainers will give you something, or you go with your friends and you often push too hard beyond your limit and you don't want to come back.
Yeah. Well, it's not even, if that was the most effective way to train, right? Those of us, anybody that wants to get better, we would just suck it up and do it all the time, right? And I've been there. I've experimented with that, right? Like I had to unlearn that. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, it's just putting your reps in, and where it comes back to one of my training principles is the 80-20 rule. 80% of your work should be, fairly moderate. Mm-hmm. 20% should be hard, right? Like the kind of, oh my God, I can't wait for this to be over. Or maybe you can't even breathe enough to say, I can't wait for this to be over. But,
And would that be for any kind of goal aside from your professional athlete?
Yeah. Okay. Because it's the best way to lose fat. Mm-hmm. Because if you go super hard, you can't go long.
Right.
Right. And if you go super hard, it's fatiguing to your nervous system, right? So you eventually reach a point where you're having to take time off because you can't go hard all the time. Right. Right. So use super burny, can't breathe, that kind of super hard. Use it strategically, but that shouldn't be most of your work.
Yeah, especially if you're new to mountain biking. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that as a new mountain biker that I was last year, my number one concern was safety, right? You have to be on. Nobody wants to crash into a tree, especially when you're older. You're like, oh my God, everything will break.
Yeah, you sound like your grandma.
I know, right? And, but that's why fitness is so important and that's why when we were at Turkey Point, at the end of it, after this has been the second day of riding, almost 50K, I was like, we have to head back, or I have to go really slow because I no longer have the strength to always be out of my saddle and to really ride well. Mm-hmm. And so, and because I have to be on, and it's not just your physical fitness, it's your cognitive fitness, and and nutrition is definitely a part of that as well. But you have to be alert.
Yeah. Well,
and obviously going back to the tension and fear and all that all just drains you. Mm-hmm. So it all really is intertwined.
Yeah. And I think it's football coach Vince Lombardi back in the day that fatigue makes cowards of us all. That was one of his quotes.
You love that quote.
Well, I do, because nothing will make you safer than being in better shape.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Backpacking, mountaineering, whatever.
Yeah, because you run into the thing where when you reach a certain point of fatigue, like your coordination goes out the window. You're not thinking quick enough or clearly. Mm-hmm. And when you're in better shape, where that line is that you cross that becomes unsafe to continue is further away.
Yeah.
And that goes with everything in life, right? I can't think of a single thing in life that is made poorer by being fitter, right? Your love life's going to be better. Your, spending time with your kids is going to be better. Your work performance is going to be better.
Yeah.
Right?
Emotional confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence, yeah.
Everything is better when you're in better shape. Your brain works better.
Yeah.
Right?
Your systems work better.
So it becomes a thing where your mental health is better. Mm-hmm. Because have you finished a mountain bike ride and gone, man, I'm so stressed?
Well, that's the thing. Like, there are times where I'm like, okay, let's go for a ride. I've got energy to burn, because it's the anxiety or stress that I'm carrying that needs to be burned off in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so these are sort of a few of the things. Like, we can get into, basically a very simple program. And when this episode comes out, I'll write it up quickly, so that we can put it in the show notes or put a link to the show notes.
Okay.
But if you take and do a dumb, simple program, right? 2 aerobic rides a week. And depending on, the time you have and all that kind of thing, like 30 to 60 minutes in that heart rate zone that I was talking about. So 180 minus your age is the top end, and 10 beats below that is the low end. And then 1 hard ride. So go on a mountain bike ride, like on trails that have some hills, if you've got them. And, it's a thing where don't try to pace yourself. Like imagine, treat it like a little race or what have you. Like whatever it takes for you to, go and don't stop. This is one of the things that I see a lot of. People will, like, especially in a lot of the trail networks we ride where there's a lot of crisscrosses.
Yep.
Like this whole thing of people stopping and taking a break.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Like they stop and they take a break.
Yeah,
it's
because
like,
usually when we ride for 2.5 to 3 hours, we might stop once. Maybe.
And that's because you want to stop.
Or you need to check the map. well, that's not stopping.
No.
That's checking.
Yeah, like that's,
I get it.
But if you can...
Yeah, we don't really stop.
If you can, when you do your hard ride...
Maybe just in my back.
If you go a little longer, And this isn't any fancy structured interval program, right? But if you just stick at this, right, and the aim on your moderate rides with the heart rate zones is just keep to that zone, and what you'll find is over time you're just going faster, right? Your average speed will increase, right? And then 3 20-minute cross-training workouts, and if you can get them in, like if you've got access to kettlebells, kettlebell swings, Turkish get-ups, and goblet squats, like those 3.
Make them do the rear stepping lunges with the goblet squats.
Well, that's an advanced move.
Oh, okay. Because I hate them.
But just those 3 exercises, if you did that 3 times a week, 20 minutes, right? And an easy way to do it would be sort of a rotating. I stole this sort of like structure from Pat Flynn, where day 1 you do 10 minutes of kettlebell swings, and then 8 minutes of Turkish get-ups, and then 5 minutes of goblet squats. And then the next day it would be 10 minutes of one of the other ones.
You just cycle through, rotate through.
Although if you're going to do Turkish get-ups, because you've got one per side, it's a side exercise. I'd have to look at playing. I'd have to make it even numbers. So do it as do 10, 8, 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you just rotate through. So each week you're getting, but that would hit, you're getting a lot of core training. You're getting grip training. You're getting posterior chain and lower back training. Your legs are getting some more work.
Yeah. Mountain biking really is great for overall fitness, eh?
Yeah. Because it takes
upper and lower body.
Unlike riding, now obviously it's not as much lower body, but compared to road cycling, or even rail trails and that type of thing, it's far more demanding on the upper body and the core, because you've got to throw the bike around, you've got to pop the front wheel over obstacles, right? You got to bend your arms and get your nose low and pull on the bars when you're climbing steep hills, right, to keep traction and keep your front wheel from popping off the ground. I
just do it. I don't even think about those things.
No, but it's
the way you break it down. I'm like, I'm doing all that.
Yeah, because
it's funny.
If you just ride up like you're riding on flat ground,
of course not. Yeah.
Then you're gonna fall over backwards.
Yeah.
When you're going up steeper hills.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if people want sort of more in depth, feel free to like send us an email or find us on Facebook. I'm happy to answer questions on how to structure programs, because giving people guidelines, these are all rough, concepts, because how much somebody needs varies on where they are, right? And it's always a tough thing for, if we say, do kettlebell swings, goblet squats, and Turkish get-ups, well, we might have to regress a whole bunch, because if you don't know how to do any of those 3, right, they're great exercises, but first you have to learn how to do them, so there's quite a bit. But if you've taken, work on your chassis, work on your skills, and work on your conditioning, you're going to be way, way better.
Yeah, no, I love how you talked about that, the pyramid. Did you get that from somewhere?
Yeah, it's my adaptation.
Okay.
Because if we really broke it down, it's actually more complicated than that. It's more than just 3 pieces.
Yeah.
Right.
No, keep it simple.
Because, the conditioning part of it, like the cardiovascular system, really is anaerobic and aerobic. And there's this over here, and there's,
one thing we didn't talk about, although it might fall under the computer, neurological system and all that, is nutrition as it comes to fitness and riding.
Yeah. So nutrition is obviously a very broad topic, and it depends on what your goals are.
Well, I'm talking about as you're riding the day of, in particular.
Yeah. So if you're riding, this is pretty simple. Like if you're going on a ride longer than an hour, then it's a good idea to ingest some calories. You want things that are super easy to digest.
So your carbs.
Yeah, and that's where like things like gels, energy drinks, Cliff bars. You want stuff that's easy to consume, not hard on your stomach. If you're going on longer rides, and this is where we start getting into the multi-hour, then more, because you can't go super long, super hard, because the harder you're going, the harder it is for, say if it was in a mountain bike race, it really is just gels and energy drinks, because you're going so hard that you can't afford, or your body can't afford to put enough blood to your stomach to digest food, right? So if you're trying to eat peanut butter sandwiches and, whatever, you just end up with an upset stomach.
Yeah.
But if you're going super long, and I'll say, I just for arbitrary sake, I'm just going to put a 4 hour, anything over 4 hours. Inherently, you can't be going super, super hard for that long, right? Really, it's 2 hours or wherever, there's no set line, but this is just as a guideline. And that's where you can get away with more, solid food, more real food, right? And so having things that have carbs, protein, and fats, that's where like a peanut butter sandwich, right? Because it's easy to digest. Or
as you're riding, is what you're talking about, because when we were gone for the 3 hours, I had a protein shake beforehand, and that's all I had in the morning, right? Because we left around noon, so I had coffee for morning, breakfast, whatever, and then protein shake, and then during, I think I had some nuts, on me. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you're trying to do endurance stuff on keto. Yeah. Right. And it's one of those things where I've never had anybody that I've coached on keto doing that length of rides. Yeah. So it's one of those things where
it's kind of new. Yeah. I mean, I will eat carbs, like just to give me some quick energy. And then I took a couple bites out of your peanut butter bagel. Yeah. Whatever. Just to get something.
Yeah. And I think for longer things like that, where you're going long and moderately hard, then, having some easily digestible carbs will just give you fuel. Because the thing we always have to remember, too, our brain runs on carbs, glucose. Yeah. So especially if you're thinking foggy, like carbs aren't the enemy. Basically, I'm going to make this simple. To wrap this up, because we don't need this to be a super long episode. No. I'm going to actually streamline my nutrition discussion, right? Because you can get so in the weeds when it comes to nutrition. Okay. So, and this isn't specifically just riding, but this is just overall nutrition, right? So, everybody should have lots of fruit and vegetables, lots of colors, simple, nothing complicated about that, unless you're one of those carnivore people. But make a point, multiple, 5-6 servings of vegetables a day, right? Eat lots of salads. Like these are all just, there's nothing rocket science or revolutionary about that, but it makes a difference. If you want to lose weight, eat more vegetables and don't put butter on them. So when we break macronutrients down, and that's carbohydrates, protein, and fats, the thing to understand is there are essential fatty acids. There are essential amino acids, and amino acids are the building blocks of protein. There are no essential carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are fuel. Okay? So each day, if you're like a healthy, conscious, active person, protein, you want to be getting anywhere from like 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. Nothing revolutionary about that. That's where all the studies point to, especially as you get older, because losing muscle mass as you age and having enough protein makes it easier to keep your muscles. Then, healthy fats like olive oils, fish oils, getting enough omega-3s, we need healthy fats, right? Avocados, coconut oil, all that type of things. Like, for instance, all your hormones are made from saturated fats, right? So if you don't have enough fat in your diet and the right types of fat, then you're not going to be able to make hormones. And if you're not making hormones, low testosterone, screwed up estrogen, blah, 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 right? You don't function properly. And then we get to the carbohydrate side of things, right? Carbs are fuel. So if you sit on your ass all day, right, and don't do anything, you don't need much fuel. If you are super active, right, then you need more fuel. If you have a physical job, you need more fuel, right? These things, like, carbs aren't good or bad, right? It's like saying gasoline, right? You know, is gasoline good or bad? Well, if your car's empty, it's good. If it's full and trying to put more in is bad, right? And this is the thing that we run into with so much of modern diet culture, if you will, right? Because it's a business, right? It's not complicated to understand that because of our modern lifestyle, which is more sedentary, engineered foods are designed for satisfaction, which makes us eat more of them.
Yeah.
So inherently, you just accumulate more calories. And that's not even counting eating bad stuff that we know is bad, right? If you're eating Big Macs, you're eating ice cream, you're eating donuts, you're eating French fries, potato chips, beer. Like, we like all these things, but don't ever be under an illusion that any of them are good for you.
Yeah.
Right? And so we have, you know, like in the United States, 70% of the population now is overweight. And I think it's like 40% are obese. Well, it's a thing where you've lost quite a bit of weight in the last 4 years. Like, you're down 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? Well, if you think about that, like, do you feel better now than you did 4 years ago?
Oh, yeah. I was literally dragging my ass.
Yeah, and your knees hurt going down the stairs.
Yeah.
Right?
I couldn't even hold my body weight going down the stairs. Yeah, that's scary.
Right? Well, because it's the thing. It's like we've, you know, it's about 20% of your body weight's gone. And you feel better. Right? And so with the whether you want to call it an epidemic or whatever, people having excess body fat, the science is irrefutable, is unhealthy, and it's hard on you because you're just carrying a backpack around with you, right? I've been there, you know. It's funny, I'm heavier than I like to be, and that's why I'm sort of cutting down as well. And so you run into the thing where because of that, and then you tie it into the also lean and fit is sexier, right? There's a whole industry built on, you know, hey, we have the perfect diet, right? Whether it's diet books, fitness plans, nutrition plans, everybody, like, everything's like marketed in a cult-like fashion.
Yeah.
Because what I'm about to say, or what I've been saying, there's no easy way for me to package it and monetize it, right? But it is what works. Like, so if you think about, you know, as I said with the macronutrients,
Right.
You adjust your carbohydrate intake based on what you are doing.
Yeah.
If you eat only whole foods, right? Like, this one is so simple.
Yeah. Whole foods and vegetables.
Yeah. Like,
I've always lost weight doing that. Yeah.
you know, like, there's not, because it's hard to overeat.
Yeah, it is.
Like, if you do your shopping in the produce section,
The perimeter.
the meat section, and nothing
In between.
other than rice and beans,
Yeah.
nothing that won't go bad. If you stuck to that, you would make such massive progress in both your
Absolutely.
health and
Yeah.
you know, fat loss
Yeah,
goals.
women would probably lose like 2 pounds a week, which for us is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, because it's one of those things like if you combine intermittent fasting with having a giant salad with your first meal of the day,
Yeah.
right? Like, and if anybody complains that it's too complicated, anything, like buy the pre-made bag salads, right? If you eat a mixing bowl of salad with each of your meals, you're getting lots of variety of veggies.
Yeah, I'm not getting enough vegetables
You know,
in my diet. Just eat a lot of meat.
yeah, like it's add veggies.
Yeah.
Like it's not complicated,
Yeah.
you know, and you poop better.
You do?
Yeah. You like your whole, like it's one of those things, lots of veggies, you know, healthy protein.
Yeah, I find for me, just on the topic of weight loss, just eating lots of protein, and sometimes that includes a protein shake just to get more in. You know, if I'm not to get more in, but if I'm hungry, rather than snacking on what I usually love, peanut butter.
Yeah, but the thing is, it
Banana.
does nothing for you, right? Like the protein shake actually helps you get to your protein goal per day,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
you know?
But there you go.
Yeah. So if basically Whole Foods, like that is your simplest, it doesn't really matter. People have lost body fat on higher carb diets, lower carb diets, cyclical carb diets. Like everybody's marketing the shit, but it just comes into a thing. If you, over a period of time, and it doesn't have to be on a daily basis, right? There's actually some evidence that 1 or 2 days a week of slightly over maintenance calories,
Right. Cycling.
your caloric intake, you know, and that's where if you fall off the bandwagon one day, it's not you're not like a junkie, you know, you're not back doing heroin. You can run into the thing where consider that your above maintenance day, you're cycling your calories, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't fall off the bandwagon,
Yeah.
right? You didn't fail. You just cycled your calories for a day, right? It's all how you frame it in your
Yeah,
head.
it is true.
You're being advanced.
And here's the thing, and if you weigh lighter, then you'll ride faster.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Yep. Other than the world's strongest man, most in like American football,
Yeah.
most sports you do better if you're lighter,
Yeah.
right? Huh. Because cycling you do better, climbing you do better.
Yeah.
You know, any distance, like it's only obviously if it's a sport with weight classes, then if you're lighter, there's a reason why people cut weight,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're in a lighter weight class, the people you're fighting aren't as big as you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's our mountain biking fitness.
Yeah.
Hopefully we didn't meander too much and,
No.
you know, because it's one of these subjects that like there's so many rabbit holes you could go down,
Oh, for sure.
you know?
But I think that's a good overview.
Yeah. So
Winston,
yeah,
work hard.
play dirty.
Bye.
See you later.